Okay, this is a quick video. I'm going to put this on the extra channel. This is a comparison between, I think one of these might not get on the main channel, but I'll give you some information right here. This is a comparison between the Canpur CP752B and the PMG Audio APX ME, which is the latest release. I believe, I can check, the Canpur has 12 drivers, I believe. They're all branded, they're all Canpur, I love that. I loved the prior Canpurs, particularly the 622B series. And the 745, I believe it was called, that was a very good set as well. The TI I liked, and then I fell out of love with it. Great company, I like the way that they do business. So that's Canpur. Close relationship with Sonian, very, very nice. Disclose all the drivers, very, very nice. And there's nothing kind of jumping out in a bad way. Now, let's take a look at the PMG APX ME. This is a branch off from an existing company, and it's released 3 sets so far. The PMG APX, which is quite intense. The PMG APX SE, which was also slightly intense, but it had really good bass. And then the PMG APX ME, which I think is 11 or 12 drivers, so they're not radically different. But I don't know what's in these IMs, which are notably different in their size. These are very, very large IMs, and these are regular. It's kind of, how did they put that many drivers inside of here? There's certainly a vibration driver because I can tap it and feel the vibration, but this is very large. Using my little ghetto generic, because it's not my ear, you can see that it really fits fine. This part of the build is something that stimulates people, because when they're trying to get it in and get a good fit, that's like a edge of a butter knife, and it causes slight irritation. I'll go with that, kind of like that. Irritable, makes them feel uncomfortable. I don't personally suffer from that, but it's been known to happen with larger ones. So this is quite a chunky boy, but this reviewer personally doesn't have an issue with that, but you should be aware of that fin, and if possible to give it a demo, or to talk somebody that bought it themselves and not somebody that's a speaker box for the company. We're talking about people on HeadFi and other forums and Discords that seem to go through different sets on a weekly to monthly basis, and there's a lot of the time they're very close with those people. You're okay with that part of the hobby, is up to you. I'm actually not, personally. I'm learning less and less to get involved, actually. This would be the fit of the PMG APX ME, and it doesn't have any lip on the body right here, so any stimulation that you might get from right here, like you would not occur. Fit for me is absolutely excellent. Excellent, I say excellent. I need a coffee. The fit of it is good for me. I don't have any difficulty getting a deep seat. I'm curious as to how they put that many drivers in such a small shell. It's titanium, it's built well. This is like a resin plastic done in a gray. I thought that my biggest issue with the Canpur was going to be the visuals. This is legit, swear on my mother, rest in peace. She's been gone a long time now. Cancer's a hell of a thing, really a hell of a thing. I really thought that the main issue for me was to get over was going to be because of the looks, and that's something that you get over quickly, because there's a lot of sets out there that, we can be honest, are just not very attractive. So I'm going to go ahead and give the transparency check to the Canpur, because I know what's in there, and I'm paying a lot of money. I should know what's in there. They're doing that. PMG is not doing that. I don't know why you do that, PMG. I'm giving you critical feedback right now, so I'm just going to not put a point over there. We're going to get to packaging now. The Canpur has an interesting packaging where it's like a display stand that I think would be extremely appropriate for like a can jam or a show. But let me explain this to you. So I can take this out directly, but to get the cable out the first time, I've got to remove these 4 stands. And you got to wear gloves because you get fingerprints all over this. It's got my serial number 001. If you're interested in purchasing this set, it's up for sale, and it's 001. These fit very secure in, and it wraps the wire around. The problem with this is that it can be used only when you're not using it, or you're transporting it, or this is more something that I seem suitable for people that do the Can Jam tour, like a lot of people on Discord, that they, as soon as they come home from Can Jam, they're yapping about can't wait to see you in the next one, I miss you guys. And it's like looks like a high school fraternity type of thing to me. I don't know. I'm an adult man with a kid, so maybe that period of life has missed me. But the packaging of this is not really good if you want to put away, take out, put away, take out. And I think it's obvious. You've got to relieve 4 screws. And this is probably the most... I like it, but I think it's a case use, or the circumstances which you would use it, whether or not this would be perfect. Because if I've got to set up some stands for other sets, and then the camper comes along with its own setup stand, and I can just take the front plate off and leave the IMs and the cable, and people can come and play around with it, and then also get to look at the packaging at the same time. So it's a use case scenario. As a home user, or that would take it about, I like the innovation. It's not really my thing. The packaging of the PMG APX ME is it's brilliant. It's absolutely beautiful. I never looked at this before. This tells me VCD. Thank you for your purchase. Is equipped with a vibration conduction driver, which is a type of conducer. Low frequency vibration that is lower carried over the... Oh, okay. I'm learning as we go. That it's not a crossfeed. It's a different sensation that I'm getting back. It's if I can remember, I'll mention to you. But it's coming from that driver in particular, because it couldn't really possibly come from anything else. It's like, it's not distortion, but it's God, what's the name? So the packaging, they've got their thing embroidered. This is actually really nice. I've looked at the sewing all around really closely to find like the cheap part of it. There is none of that. It comes with a metal and glass tip holder, and you're thinking, okay, that's really beautiful, but that's kind of unwieldy for me. I don't think I'd carry that around. Well, you don't need to carry that around. You are considered. You just take your favorite 2 pair or 2 of 1 pair and put it in the little mini version of the glass and metal carrier for your tips, with the embroidered inside of this case. This seems, number one, practical, stunningly beautiful, slightly innovative in its what it actually contains. There's not a lot of gold dragons or other like thematic stuff where this is all about Viking lore or anything like that. It's just like a very classy way to store away your quite expensive IMs. And then you've got the cables that come down inside here, and you've got this little piece of foam that just serves the single purpose for while these are in here. Place this over, and then this will pinch it so that nothing possibly happens to it. Also, before I forget, this case has the ability to completely be adjusted by these dividers. I just love the color of this, by the way. I need a coffee. So you could put your DAP in, you could put 2 DAPs in, you could do a DAP, double cables, BT dongle, an extra battery charge, backup. There's a lot of things you could do. Options is always a good thing, and you don't need to buy anything else. The option is built into this. So not only do I think this is better than the camper, I think it's arguably one of the better presentations in the Summit Fi hobby. So I'm going to give the point. Let me put this back here. And I love this. I don't know what this is made out of. It's very soft. I'm going to give the 1 point to PMG, so we got 1 point each right there. Next, I'm going to get into build. The build on this is it's called medical grade plastic, and There's a lot of sets that have that, some under Linsol brand, I believe, resin, medical practice. I don't know if there's a very big difference between it. For $5,000 to $6,000 US, the color isn't my thing, but I really thought I could get over that. And I kind of have. Because I'm not satisfied with the IM, I'm starting to put my focus on it, but I really didn't mention it much before. I did say that when it came in my hands, it was less whitish than I thought it was going to be, so that was easier. But I'm generally not a fan of how it looks, and it's made out of what feels like in the hand, a very cheap material. Could have been a titanium or an aluminum or something else, which also has properties that are sometimes beneficial because of reflections inside of the shell that are beneficial to the overall listening experience. I think that the CP752B Ti had a non-timing issue with reflections and the chaos sound that happens in a shell, and the titanium version took that away, but then added a little bit slightly more intense replay overall. So not a fan of the build materials, the color. They're doing elections in Japan right now. So I'm hesitant to listen to 215-in subwoofers in my Land Cruiser, but these people can drive around all day long and into the evening screaming through their speakers, and it's part of the culture. Now moving over to build of the PMG APX SE. This is a titanium build, which is obvious because of how incredibly light it is. It's lighter than it's actually pretty close. Let me see if I can get something going here. This will have the cable attached, so it'll be limited. So one is metal. Say 19.7 for the camper. And these should be substantially heavier. Basically 2 grams heavier, so they're really kind of a wash. And you got titanium here, and the build quality feels kind of nice. And the cable, the accessories that are on the camper and on this are a wash. You like either one. It doesn't really, whichever one you prefer, you can do. There's switchable terminations on this one. I think no. Just kind of dawned on that because I go 4.4 always anyway. These are both coming out 4.4. I don't switchable terminations inside there. But I'd give the build quality because I think titanium is for obvious reasons. And also we really don't know the quality of that medical grade resin. It doesn't look very strong. I'm going to give this one transparency. Goes to camper. Packaging goes to PMG. The build quality overall, because of the materials, I'm going to give that to the PMG as well. Now we're going to go to the base. And then we turn this up. I don't know if you can hear this or not, but I don't want to talk to you. I want to show you. I want to talk to you while I show you. Let me go down here. I've got some really good files. This is Dreams by by Fleetwood Mac, essentially. And it is a file that goes up to 30 kilohertz, actually. There's parts of this that get up there. Or let me say more accurate, it looks like 22, 23. But I think there are other spikes that go higher. What we're looking for is the initial crash at the entrance of Dreams. And I'll show you the fingerprint, which is this right here. I don't know if you can see that. But this is the thumbprint of a crash symbol. So let's go ahead and play that. So yeah, I don't want to. Let's go back one more time. This is important because people are talking about crashes and symbols and being kind of unavailable. So here is one more time. Remember, this is the image of it. We can highlight right there at the top of that. And then we can see the energy for that is mostly existing beyond 500 hertz, and it's peaking at approximately 6, 7, and 8. So it's part of the area where the dip is. with this set, instead of getting the slight wince that you might get, I'm actually enjoying it playing right through. The difference between the quality of the cymbal on Dreams between the Canpur and the PMG is actually in the PMG's favor. I find it to be much more natural and not like in your face, which is something that I don't really prefer. This is where ear canals and listening levels, and it all really becomes quite important. And you see that thumbnail right there. You see, if you can see it. Now I'm going to scroll without knowing kind of where I am. I want to find that, and I want to find it because of, let me look at that one more time. That spray to the right. There we go, right there. See that? That is the same. So that's going to be a crash cymbal. Ready? There we go. And then this would be a crash cymbal right here. And it is. So you can see you can start to read these. It gets kind of wild. We're talking about like Asperger's and ADHD. When I'm listening to cymbals on high quality files, which you can see the density on this if you're familiar with this app, some of the lower quality files are really sparse, and the depth and the color indicates the density, which I'll show you when we get to bass. I think that the treble, I'm going to go with the PMG APX ME because it doesn't fatigue or get on me, but it doesn't take away from critical instruments. I got to have one caveat, and that is on things like Tupac, Shorty Wanna Be a Thug, and some things where they mix part of the production on the deck, and it doesn't really have a mid-frequency event. It is a high-frequency, like addition. It's a layer. It's a digital version of a real instrument, like a mariachi or like something where you can spin it around. That hyped up, sped up slightly, is something that exists a little bit beyond the ear gain, and that sounded fine on both of these. And then I listened to it again, and I volume adjusted on my splitter over there, and I realized that the PMG APX ME, it's almost gone when I'm comparing at similar levels, which is 77 dB. So first pass, I thought it sounded great. Second pass, I noticed it's a little bit not ideal. So I'm going to give a point to Canpur because if you like bright, I'm not going to take that away, but I actually prefer the PMG, so we're at 2 versus 3 right now. The next one I'm going to pick, these are really great. Like again, if you want to know when the stick is striking, you can pick that out as well, but it takes about 10 minutes to figure it out, and then you just start to see the patterns in the visual. Taking audio and combining visual, once you start to practice with it, or your brain has to be wired that way, it becomes like reading a language. Like you're reading a book and someone else says, I can't read that. How can you read that? You're just like, I practiced it. I can read it now. You can. Some people learn languages educationally, others casually, like through communication with their friends, and they go to izakayas in Japan. So I kind of absorb this stuff by just doing it over and over again. And again, this is a crash cymbal right here because you can see its fingerprint. There we go. And then if I went down further, if I was looking for a different instrument, I could find something that looks a little bit different. I'm not seeing the same one. Oh, there's one right there. Okay. So I'm sure you're done with that right there. So let's go back. Let's talk about Backseat Freestyle, which is the bass. This is a very good file. This is also going up to about 22 kilohertz. It's got the density. The more dark it is the intensity of it. I have this frozen, and I'll just show it for a second because it's 55 hertz. It's 50 hertz right here, and it is substantial. It might be plus 34 dB, minus 13 dB, under 0. Let's go ahead and play this real quick. Yeah, I better get to a... So I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, there we go. So you see what we're going through right now, and then you see these massive red blobs. This is the meat of where that hit is, which it looks like it is approximately. Looks like it's right around 50 hertz. And now we'll go right into that. So that's the bass right there. Listening to this exact track, this exact file, adjusted off of head amp 6, where I can make sure that these are both putting out at 450 hertz the exact same output, same volume. So they're matched at the mids, and then the difference in the treble and the basses, I should hear a difference because the graph says they line up at 500. They're seesawing different ways. I should be able to pick out which one's which. Whether or not I knew which one was which one just by listening to the set and then looking at the graph and thinking, that sounds like the female vocals are forward, or that sounds like the hi-hats and the rides are louder. I'm going to pick the one that's got the louder energy. I think that would be easy for most people that listen to music regularly and have any familiarity with the visual side of this. So I'm going to give the bass clearly to the PMG because I think it's not even close, and it's the reason that I'm going to sell the camper without maybe doing a full video for it, because it completely lacks in the area that I thought the graph said it would be. Let's tip our hats to graphs in the bad way. Sometimes they really don't reflect. The camper sounds like a Duno SA6 Ultra with better techs, but generally, so a low Pina with bass over the treble, but the graph doesn't indicate that, which is the frustration. There's nothing wrong with my set. There's no QC problems. It's not over dampened. I don't think it is, because the graph looks reasonable. If you lowered the damp on that damping, it would make the treble go up. So they kind of really can't do anything about that. The last thing that we're going to talk about is the mids. And this is Mrs. Robinson by Simon and Garfunkel, which I think most people would agree is like a vocal-centric album and a group. I don't know if this is going to ding me or not. So you hear the acoustics coming in. I believe they're both playing acoustic guitar. I don't know what the tuning of either of them is, or if they're different. Let me see if I can see where their vocals start to come in. Yeah, there we go. I nailed it. I can't go through this because this video will get dinged. Listening to Simon and Garfunkel, listening to Heart, which has the Wilson sisters with 2 female vocals. There's a bump on the PMG that's slightly forward. I think it sounds amazing. There's some people that are bringing up that that's something that's really bothering them, and then I look and I see that, oh, they like the Volk, which has no ear gain, or the ear gain starts at 450 hertz. Or the option is there is no ear gain because there's no compensation boost for the ear, which is why an ear gain exists. It just kind of starts early. And then when you get to the traditional 1 to 2, 1.5, 2, where other areas can be started for the ear gain, there's no adjustment. It's just a kind of a flat top. That's got to sound weird as heck. So I don't know. I'm going to give the mids to the PMG because it sounds more musical in the way that I thought the camper would, because I was so disappointed about the bass performance. I thought maybe this is just a organic musical pull you in all day listen. It turns out that this is the set. Now this set was sent to me for free. Shout out to the guy Piotr. I'm not a fan of the original one. I thought the second one was really good. I thought it was one of my favorite sets. I didn't expect to, because a lot of people talking about this set were complaining about a lot of stuff, and I'm not a robot, so I thought, oh yeah, that plate print isn't really jumping out at me. And then I got it in hand, and I'm comparing it with another set being praised a lot, and I'm thinking it looks like a toy. If we're going to talk about how close to the edge this is with its print, which I agree, then we got to talk about how that looks like really a child's toy, and whoever came up with the color scheme is, I don't know, that's their mission in life should be that. They maybe ought to change it. If you're considering getting either one of these sets, and you listen to Kendrick Lamar, and you listen to Simon and Garfunkel, and you listen to Heart, and you listen to Steely Dan, and you listen to Tchaikovsky, and you want everything to be there, but you don't want it to be in your face. You want a balance of something giving you all the things you expect, but not at the expense of listening length. Like you don't want to have to give up after 3 tracks or 30 minutes because you just start to get the ringing in your ear, which the PMG APX SE did for me. So the original APX was not very fun to listen to for more than a couple minutes. The PMG APX SE could be listened to for longer, but when I did, I would get that ringing because it was stimulating up in the late. This I've listened to for several times, and I killed the battery on one DAP, which is the M27. And I've never got that ringing sensation from this set. It's probably the best set when it comes to a hip-hop rock library that is in Summit Fi right now. I think that Asteria is a technically superior set and that it does everything excellent. The bass does slam, the mids sound clean, the treble is the opposite of this in the sense that it could become possibly fatiguing for certain people of certain ages or sensitivities, whereas I don't think this will ever do that. This is a sofa set, a Summit Fi sofa set, which is fine because when you look at some of the tuning and the hype stuff, when they're jumping on like it's a niche thing for this group of people, they really push it that hard when it's their friends. And then otherwise it's like, what is this? So there's moving of goalposts and different levels of caretaking of sets and other people's hard work, depending on who it is that they're talking about, as opposed to being just their general demeanor and take towards a branch of the hobby which is very expensive and isn't worth it really to anybody when it comes to the value for your dollar. But if you're going to decide to play because you want to enjoy that, you should get consistent information, the good and the bad. This isn't an ideal consumer level presentation box. It's for shows. This doesn't really work. Once you open it up, you can't use it again. This is perfect for travel. This is made out of materials that are made for much more affordable sets, including companies like Zigat, TA Audio, Pen-On stuff. This is made out of titanium. There's fewer ones that do this, and they're usually more expensive. There's reasons for that, price of materials. And I believe, like others, that it does have a positive impact on the overall replay, clarity, and resolution of the set. So I'm going to say PMG gets transparency. Oh no, Camper gets the transparency, which is a big deal. Packaging, PMG. Build, PMG. Bass, PMG. Mids, PMG. Treble, I'm going to say to taste. Treble is, let's say 1.5 to 30 kilohertz. 30,000 kilohertz was like that. 3/4 of that graph that you see, 30 times is how much more info you get that's being compressed. So a lot of people lose their love up in the treble. So if the treble is the only thing that people are talking about as like a deal breaker, you really, and they would agree with this, you really should go listen to it. Bass is something you can wrap your brain around a little bit better. Mids are slightly forward, slightly back, or done in a way that's appealing. Treble is really another thing, and you have to know the other person's taste, and I don't think you can. So insist that they go listen. It would be better for them, and if it's on your rec, it's better for you too, because you look good telling them to take the extra step. If you're going to get the PMG and you're thinking about, well, I want every little detail, and I don't get stimulated for long listens, then this might not be your actual first choice. For me, in my library, it is my first choice. The Camper, I think, is best suited for people who... Now, if you've been watching me for years, you know, the U12T is a set I never liked. It is a jack of no trades. It'll do everything pretty good. I mean, everything pretty good. You can do reggae, you can do hip-hop, you can do R&B, you can do EDM, you can do classical music. It's not the best at any of those things, but it will do all of those things. Never a fan of jack of all trades. And I got 7 years of proof of saying that. This Camper, despite its graph, is very reminiscent of the U12 and the U18. in that it's kind of what some people might call boring. It doesn't wow you like with some ethereal, sparkly treble and all those little things mixed up in the deck that you might not catch in your car home system. But when it's stuck in your ear, it's like, holy shit, wow, that sounds like a different mix. But it's not. You're just picking up little micro details. This would fit that group. If you want it, this would do that. Its bass is extremely polite compared to the PMG and compared to the APX SE as well. So the two previous versions from that company are better than this. And the 622B, I don't care what the graph says, is graphed to have less bass than this, but this has less bass to my ear, measured at 77 dB playing the same tracks. So this is for people that like the U12T or things like that do everything fairly safe, and you can go through your library through shuffle, not really worry if Vivaldi's coming right after, Stone Temple Pilots that's following right up behind Radiohead, or you don't care. 12TT is going to take that, eat it up, spit it out nice. Canpur will do that too. I'm more into sets that'll rock my ear on the hip hop and then not have too much bass to bloom into the vocals and the rest of the production of a rock and roll, classic rock, well mastered, or something even like Thriller. So that's my take on the Canpur. Check it before you buy it, like all stuff that's in this price range. It's not my thing, and it's because of the bass and the overall resolution. There's a compression sounding to it. That's what I was looking for earlier when I couldn't think of the word. Sounds compressed. Doesn't sound dynamic, and because that would imply like all of the things are there and your mind might become overwhelmed with all of the info. No, that's not this set. But that's also not this set. This is just a fun tuned. You'll get a lot of the details, except for a couple deck mix stuff like Sure Do You Want to Be a Thug, and a couple other things. Part of the Steely Dan, Hey 17, I believe is the name of the track. There's a couple things in there that are slightly muted. So that dip does have an impact, but I got to look for it, and it's rare in my library. So I guess it comes down to library. That's the Canpur. It's a fantastic set. Doesn't fit my use. And it's got weak points. PMG APX ME. Epic set does fit my use and doesn't really have any problems, except it's a demo and it says demo on it, and I'll just take an eraser and erase that off because I'll probably keep it for myself because I love it. It's probably the best set that you can get if you've got a library with a lot of hip hop and bass stuff in it, which is why I'm doing this video. And then the Asteria is coming and the Fugaku is coming as well, but let's do these ones first. And I'm out.